Welcome to the Grown Folks Table. Pull up a seat and be ready for real women discussing real issues at the table. And now your host, Alicia Cash, Vicki Turner, Dr. Levy, Dolores Grizzle, and Joyce Littell.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the table. Welcome to the Grown Folks Table. We are gathered here with my fabulous co-hosts looking so magnificent today. I mean, the ladies are already dazzled in them pearls. Me and Joyce was talking about how jealous we are that Dolores and Vicki just decided it was going to be Pearl Day. So just tell me, you're in a Pearl fabulous mood?
Oh, yes. I just love wearing my pearls. So you'll probably see my pearls throughout the summer.
You know, I think I wear pearls because they really make me feel grown up. So maybe some of life's issues, I want to be a child, but when I put my pearls on, I'm a big girl.
But looking at all of you all's jewelry today, making me feel naked. You know, when Alicia came in, I'm like, you know, that necklace is not going home with you, right?
Okay.
It's not going.
It's fun that you say that because I used to host this event called the Accessory Swap, right? Mm-hmm. And that means that you have to bring something that you don't mind swapping, and everyone will
I like
need.
that.
I
I like
know.
that. Let's
I
do
think
that.
we
Do that,
should.
please.
For the girls.
For the girls. Yes.
I got something I can swap
Right.
right.
I think I want to bring that back.
Yes.
So and it doesn't have to be new. It could be something old or lightly, gently used that you bring, and we kind of swap accessories.
I like it.
I
I like that. I like that. I like that.
Absolutely. Well, today at the table, we're talking about violence. You know, all around the nation, violence is at an all-time high. And what can we do to address this uprising of violence that we see targeting our communities? I want to kind of start with you, Dolores. Tell me, what do you think about the state of our country and our communities when it comes to violence?
I would just tell you, it's out of hand. This violence is truly, truly out of hand. And I think that we've taken too long to even start talking about legislation. Yes. We now want to put something in place for violence, terrorism, but it is just taking too long. What has happened in these last, just over the years of all the violence that's been happening in the communities, and it's just so disproportionate that in some communities, the people are so fearful even trying to get out and go places because of all the violence, the shootings. Your kids can't go anywhere. I think there have just been so many organizations, so many mentoring programs set up for kids, just trying to engage the children, get them off the street so they'll have some productive things to do. But you still have that mass of kids who are out there, and it's the young kids. It is so sad when you see the 13-year-olds walking around with guns. But then at the same time, when you think about government, they want to allow everyone to carry a gun without a license, without a background check.
Right.
So what do you do? I mean, I think everybody's just frustrated when it comes to that. People, and I know not so much our race, but the white race, their children are born to begin to learn to shoot at the age when they can carry a gun. And I think that something needs to be put in place for these gun shops who owns these gun shops that are selling these guns and these arms to these young people who are out there killing. I would think if you come into a gun shop, you should know when you're purchasing certain amount of ammunition, certain amount of just high power rifles and things, something is going on. And I think it's just out of hand now. Something has to be done. I just don't know, because you do have so many organizations been trying so hard with families. You got mothers who lost sons. You have fathers who've lost sons, mothers lost daughters. All these organizations, activist groups, just trying to work together to trying to get something passed. But I don't know.
So you're saying that we should start looking at how easy and accessible it is for people to purchase.
That is where it starts. And until they get, you have to do something about the people who are selling, because I just know when you come in your right mind, you know that you just sold all this high power, all this ammunition, all these guns to a young person, to know something is getting ready to happen. And I just think it's sad, because it is awful what has happened. It's awful what has happened in these different cities, going in just shooting people in churches, wherever, grocery stores, different places. It's out of control. And because I think we don't have enough police on the force, a lot of security guards have been shot. So when you look at police are being shot, there's no respect anymore for law enforcement. So because of that, I think we have so much violence.
You know, I would almost say, I was thinking, wherein lies the fault? Because I believe children are children. Teenagers are teenagers. Young people, they are typical to who they are. And sometimes they want to explore things. They want to, children, you remember when my brothers were young, they had guns. And they played little, plastic guns. And then they grew up and then it became a BB gun. But parents monitored that. Parents now don't even look in book bags, and guns are coming to our schools in record numbers, more than probably most people know. But wherein lies the fault when you have our state leadership that approves and passes legislation that allows anybody to buy a gun? And then why do we get shocked when the children go pick up a gun and go in a public place, intentional, premeditated, and shoot it up? No, but nobody ever goes back to wherein does the fault lie. It lies with parents who have abdicated raising their children to the television, social media platforms, and those kind of things. I think that the fault lies with our legislators who are pocketing money and profiting.
But even if so, I still think we're being very reactive instead of proactive. So as soon as the legislation passed where anyone could buy a gun, we did not change how we govern ourselves. We didn't change how people come into grocery stores. We didn't change how people come into schools. We didn't change how people come into large facilities where right. We can't go into the airport with a gun because they have metal detectors. And so it took 9/11 to happen for us to change how we transport people. And I think that's where we have dropped the ball hugely. We have not reevaluated once we passed this law. What was that supposed to look like for our communities, and how are we going to govern them? Because imagine having a metal detector when you go into Publix, and then imagine now having, at some grocery stores, you have security or police representation, but imagine us, increasing policing and representation. The other day I was was in a car accident. It took the police 2 hours to come to the scene, because they said they were busy, and they said that they had other crimes that I guess that were more important than my particular crime. So, I had to put in a couple of phone calls. I hate to have to throw that card, but I did, but in order for the police to come. And when they did come, he said, well, the truth is, Miss Cash, we short-staffed. So now we're drilling down to a personnel issue where we can't hire or retain good police. And so I'm thinking we may even have to eventually tap into the military to pull them over. Not necessarily, I think their training is a little different, but we may have to tap into that military training because we're so low on the personnel and the policing in order for us to get the type of protection that we have. What do you think about that, Joyce?
You know what? I traveled to Paris.
Yes.
One time, and when I got there, you saw armored people on each corner.
Right.
And they were associated with the military. And so there was a sense of comfort there because everywhere you turned, there was some type of protection. This is a hard one for me because it hadn't been a month ago that my 19-year-old nephew was shot and killed from senseless violence. So, and did he live the life? I have to admit and say yes. Did he come from a home that didn't teach him right and wrong? I have to say, on one of the sides at least, he was in a space where that was glorified more so than you shouldn't be doing this. And so until, as Vicky was saying, until it becomes, something that you teach, as a young age at home, then that piece of life is a glorification of you becoming bad and strong and I'm this type of tough guy. And so it's sad that so many of them lose their lives because of that, because even at his service, they were strapped. And the ones who were like, we ain't used to this right here, was nervous as all get out. And across the street, there were cops because of how this went down.
But Joyce, violence, we will all agree, violence is celebrated.
It's celebrated. That's
celebrated.
What I'm telling you.
It's almost like a rites of passage.
Yeah.
In some communities to kill.
Yeah.
To take the life of someone, a rites of passage. I just think we tried to put metal detectors in the schools. We tried to consider it, and you would not believe parents uprising against it. They felt their children were in a prison. They did not want that look. They didn't agree with it. And so the measure died.
Well, we got to reconsider that because we are in a totally different we're in a totally different light. Things are just so different. I mean, who would ever thought I could be in the grocery store and someone comes in the grocery store and just open fire. So we have to wake up and understand that the times are different.
Yes.
The times are different, and we have to govern ourselves differently according to the times. We can't be caught back up of, this makes it feel like a prison. No, I don't feel like I'm in a prison when I have to go to the airport, because they don't care that this makes you feel uncomfortable. Take off your shoes or you're going to miss your flight. And so we're back in that privilege thing, where people, I'm pretty sure, is more from the more privileged community that don't feel like that they have to follow certain rules, but when you want to go to a game and you have to go to the Falcons game, when they change the rules, they say, okay, you can't bring your handbag, you have to bring in a clear bag. And what do? We adjust.
We make the adjustment.
So I think it's time for us to begin looking at ways that we have to make adjustments for the times that we're currently in, because people are short-tempered. They can go from 0 to 25. The way we rationale thinking and our emotions, I mean, the young man that did the shooting in Buffalo, New York, he drove, which is premeditated.
Yes,
so that means he had to drive. How far did he drive?
3.5 hours.
He drove 3.5 hours to his location. I mean, so your mind has to be in a certain space to do that, Yes. So how do we plan and prepare for someone of that sort to come into our spaces where we think it's safe?
The thing is, too, this hate has been going on forever. This hate, and when I think about, and I'm so bothered about when up in the House, they are trying to pass legislation. But when you think about when it goes to the Senate, I just think because they feel so removed from violence, it's not in their neighborhood. So they don't really think much about when it comes to guns. When you really think about, because they're the ones with all the guns. They're the ones with all the ammunition. They have it when starting at, I'm saying children, small age groups. They teach their children, start shooting in the backyard, how to shoot rifles. They're getting them prepared. Our children are not taught things like that. But I think, especially in the Senate, I think that they really are not in tune to this violence at the magnitude where it is today, what needs to be done. I think it's one of those things, it can come to the Senate floor, but they are just not going to pay that much attention to it, because when you have government with the mindset that it's okay, that's a big, huge thing, especially in the white community, guns.
Well, here's the thing, though. Now it's not just based off for minority communities. See, the problem is it's showing up at their front doors now. So it has gone from being on one side of town to now, if for those of you watching in Atlanta, Buckhead.
Yes.
So now I don't know if you all remember the memes that came out that was like, it's safer to shop at Greenbrier than it is to shop at Lenox, and so those are two different malls, two different dynamics, two different areas. But the thing about it is now it's showing up in, those particular neighborhoods. And so across the country, large cities are experiencing high crime. It's just nowhere. New York, Atlanta, it doesn't matter where it is. They all are experiencing the same thing. And I think it's time for us to get the military involved.
I think so too.
You know
Bring
what
the
I was
military.
thinking? I was thinking about Buckhead. It used to be the premier place.
Yes.
Right? And then you noticed just about a year ago, the mayoral race was really determined by how are you going to handle crime.
Yes, it was.
In our area.
Yes.
Right. And so we came to the table with solutions based on the demographic. But swing over to the hood.
Yep.
where people like you and me look.
Yes.
And live.
Yes. And
nobody's coming to the table on our behalf.
Nope.
Something has to happen from the top all the way down.
And it's unfortunate because, I love our Black community. I love our people. But for some reason, like you said, it's glorified with this whole crime piece, this whole gun piece. It just is. I don't know what it is about our people that gravitate. It used to be a long time ago, people said it was the music, the kids are listening to the music. It's the rap music that's doing it, Yeah. And you have all these videos that people were perpetrating, this gang stuff with guns and things like that. But now everybody's strapped, like you said.
Everybody's got a gun.
It's a message. I mean, there's a different message that is being put out on all of these platforms. You saw shootings with the cowboy movies, and that was pretty much it. And then some gangster stuff here and there. But it's this new message of racism and who is better, in this society. And I think that is what is filtering through these minds now.
Yes.
That because they have access, that I can go and get my daddy's rifle out of his cabinet, load it up and go for it.
Yes.
Because
Wow.
they have access, then how I'm feeling about what someone thinks or feels about me, I can go handle that. And so it's scary to me.
It is.
Because for a person who does most of the grocery shopping, I'm the one that's in their mouth.
Yes.
No,
And I'm like, okay,
the
do I
same
walk
way.
up in here knowing this is going to be my last time being seen or heard? So it's a scary situation. And I think, it's platforms like these, it's mouths like we have and other avenues in which people are talking. But we got to put our foot and our pressure on these officials, that we vote for and say, look here. Now, you say you going to do this, then we need to see some of these kinds of results. And just like the idea that you have is to bring the military, and I like that idea because my first time in Paris to know that there was somebody on every corner with a machete, with the army gear on. I'm like, okay, I ain't gonna get out of line. Look, I ain't gonna get out of line.
And two things too, Joyce. Thinking about the fact that you're in the entertainment industry, and so during the summer we like to get out and do a lot of things, entertainment, from concerts, to open park spaces, and so at these things you don't know who's carrying.
Okay,
so right, you don't know who's carrying. If they don't have policies in place to say you can't come into this venue if you're carrying no guns here. So it's even drilling down. Let's say if what we can't push up to the legislation, that we have to now put a demand on these companies and organizations that's hosting events to say, how are you going to make this a safe environment?
Yes, right.
Are you going to have metal detectors? Are you going to require that they can't come in with guns, that you're going to have people checking for that? So now we have to put in a demand on that. And the military, I think, helps us a lot because communities are not used to seeing the military. So the police, they've kind of is it desensitized? They're not afraid of the police anymore.
Right.
But I think the military will catch people off guard because it's like, okay, the military now is coming in.
Right.
If they're standing up saying, okay, you got to go home, or you may go to military prison. I mean, I will be afraid, right?
And I think too, Pastor, I think the type of armor that the military carries and trained to use, we're just a little afraid.
Right.
Where the police, they know they carry the handgun.
Right.
But the military coming in with some serious, just as serious as what you just purchased.
You're right.
So,
I'm trying to tell you. When I got over there and saw that, I'm like, okay, George, you gonna act right.
Right. And then they roll through it. What are those big trucks they have?
Absolutely.
You know,
But they need to treat it just like they treated COVID. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You
Absolutely.
can go nowhere without a swab and your card.
Even though
They
some
need-
felt it infringed upon their rights,
Right.
but we did what we needed to do
do.
We
to
do.
stay alive.
That's right.
And I think that's
right.
where we are. I think that's where we are now. Times are indicating that we're currently in a space where something needs to happen. It needs to be drastic.
Yes, I'm with you.
I'm
Well,
totally
thank you
with
so much for joining us today at the Grown Folks Table. We'll be right back here next Thursday. Have a good rest of your day.